My name is Mark Talbot. I'm 41, a stagehand at the Paramount Theater in Denver. I live behind the scenes, build the sets, rig the lights, make the magic happen so actors can shine. For years, I thought that backstage was where the best drama stayed. I was wrong. The worst performance of all was unfolding in my own home. My wife, Rachel, was an actress. Not famous, not starving, somewhere in between. Community theater, a few small commercials, the occasional indie film shot in Colorado. We met during a production of A Streetcar Named Desire. I was rigging the lighting grid. She was Blanche DuBois, fragile, luminous, magnetic. We were married 6 months later. I loved her fiercely. I thought she loved me the same way. For 8 years, we built a life of late-night rehearsals and lazy Sunday mornings. We never had kids. Her career always came first, and I was okay with that. She had charm. I had steadiness. A good balance. Until it wasn't. The first red flag came in whispers. A new director, Kevin Grant, arrived in town, a hotshot from LA, staging an avant-garde version of Macbeth. Rachel landed the lead, Lady Macbeth. Kevin took a personal interest in her from day one. I heard about him every night. He's brilliant. He understands me. We have this incredible connection on stage. I tried to be supportive, but soon she was staying late after rehearsals. Then she began turning her phone face down during dinner. And the intimacy between us, already strained by her obsession with landing roles, dried up completely. I asked once, carefully, "You and Kevin spending a lot of time together, huh?" She laughed too quickly. "It's just the show, Mark. God, don't be jealous." That was the first lie. One night, I finished a double shift. Came home earlier than she expected. Found her in the living room with her laptop open. An email chain set glowing on the screen. "Kevin G. Still thinking about last night. You were electric. On stage and off. Rachel, wish we had more nights like that. It's getting harder to pretend at home." I stood frozen. The words kept repeating in my head. Pretend at home. Pretending with me. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I'd seen too many lies patched up with clever words. I needed proof. And I needed a stage for her performance to fall apart, publicly, unforgettably. I reached out to an old friend, Alex, a lighting designer and tech geek. I told him everything. He said one thing. "If you want to do this, do it smart. No screaming. No violence. Just truth." I agreed. Alex helped me set up discrete audio recorders, one in our bedroom, one in the car. I started syncing Rachel's laptop when she left it unattended, copied every email and message thread with Kevin. And what I found. It wasn't a one-night mistake. It wasn't a fleeting spark. It was a full-blown affair, planned, intentional, and worst of all, mocking me in the process. Rachel, he still thinks we're solid. So naive. Kevin, he's a stagehand. You're meant for better. Rachel, soon as Macbeth wraps, I'll figure out how to leave him. I want us. That sealed it. But I wasn't going to wait for her exit. I would write my own ending. Opening night was 3 weeks away. A packed house was expected, critics, donors, actors' families. I had an idea. A brutal, perfect idea. A way to let Rachel and Kevin expose themselves on the very stage they'd used to lie. I began preparing quietly. Downloaded all the emails and audio clips. Had Alex edit them into a tight video package, 5 minutes, clear, undeniable. Then I worked out the timing. The final scene of Macbeth had a blackout cue, full stage dark, house lights off. It would be the perfect moment. 5 seconds of black. And then, the truth. I kept playing my role at home, calm, loving, unsuspecting. She was already rehearsing her new life. She had no idea the final act was about to begin, and that this time, she'd be the one on display. In the days leading up to Macbeth's opening night, I moved like a ghost in my own life. Rachel floated through rehearsals, her glow growing by the day. I pretended not to notice. I cooked her dinner, rubbed her shoulders after late nights, listened to her rave about Kevin's vision. "He says Lady Macbeth has to feel trapped in a lie," she mused one night. I smiled. How fitting. She didn't catch the edge in my voice. Meanwhile, Alex and I fine-tuned the video. He was a wizard with timing, slicing the most damning pieces together with perfect flow. Kevin's emails, still thinking about last night. Rachel's, soon as Macbeth wraps, I'll figure out how to leave him. Audio clip from our bedroom. Mark's clueless. He buys every smile I give him. Photo of them together at a hotel bar, timestamped during a night she'd told me she was at a cast dinner. Alex added one title card at my request. Every stage hides its truths. Time for this one to be revealed. It would run during the blackout after the final death scene. I'd programmed the projector myself, triggered by a discreet remote in my pocket. All I needed was one press. The morning of opening night, Rachel was buzzing. "You're coming, right?" she asked, eyes bright. "Wouldn't miss it," I replied. "It means a lot. You've always been my biggest supporter." I almost laughed. Biggest fool, more like. But not anymore. At the theater that evening, the house was packed. Critics in the front rows. City Arts Council in attendance. Kevin prowled backstage, eyes gleaming. Rachel swept in wearing her costume, regal and cold. I stood by the lighting booth, my heart calm and steady. The plan was set. The show began. Scene after scene, I waited. Watched her deliver soliloquies about guilt and treachery with stunning skill, ironic as hell, given her offstage life. When she knelt before the king, I could hear her voice shaking slightly. Was it nerves? Or some part of her knowing her kingdom was about to fall? Finally, the climax arrived, Macbeth's death. Kevin himself had taken a small role, Macduff. I watched him plunge the prop dagger in with dramatic flourish. The audience gasped. The lights dimmed. In the script, the next beat was total blackout, 5 seconds. The house waited in breathless silence. And in that space, I pressed the button. The projector whirred to life. The screen behind the set, normally left dark, lit up with the first email. "Still thinking about last night. You were electric." A ripple went through the crowd. Stagehands froze. Actors backstage whispered, confused. Next slide. "He buys every smile I give him." Audio, clear and sharp. Now gasps. People shifting in their seats. Rachel's face, captured in a grainy photo with Kevin, her hand on his thigh in a dim bar. Then her email. "Soon as Macbeth wraps, I'll leave him." A wave of shocked murmurs swelled. Kevin stormed from the wings, eyes wide, helpless to stop the feed. Rachel staggered forward on stage, mouth working, no words coming. The final title card flashed. A performance can only last so long. Blackout. I stepped down from the booth. The house lights came up. Silence. Then a storm of voices shouting, gasping, some people filming. Rachel stood frozen center stage, face ashen. Kevin had vanished backstage. I walked the aisle toward the exit. Rachel caught sight of me. "Mark, please." I met her eyes. "Break a leg, Rachel." And I left. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. I inhaled it like a free man. Behind me, the building buzzed with chaos. The perfect final scene. That night, my phone blew up. Rachel, her castmates, Kevin, even a local reporter. I ignored them all, except for one message from Alex. "You did it. Cleanest damn takedown I've ever seen." I poured myself a drink, sat on the porch, and watched the stars. No rage. No regret. Just relief. She built a fantasy on lies. I'd simply lifted the curtain, but I wasn't done. There were still consequences to set in motion. Real-world ones. And I was ready to pull those strings next. The night of the incident, as the theater folks began calling it, ended in a storm of panic. Rachel didn't come home. I heard through Alex that she and Kevin had holed up in a downtown hotel, trying to figure out how to spin the disaster. Good luck with that. The video had already leaked. One of the audience members had filmed the entire projection on their phone, shaky but clear. By morning, clips were circulating on local theater forums and a few gossip blogs. Actress exposed during Macbeth performance. Not my doing, just the natural flow of a story that juicy. And I let it flow. Rachel called me 9 times that night. Texted 23. "Please, please, please. I can explain. We didn't mean for this to happen. I love you. I just got confused." Classic. I didn't respond. There was no need. I had another move to make. By the following afternoon, the theater board was in crisis mode. The local arts council had pulled funding from the remainder of the run. Patrons were furious. Sponsors backed away. I knew from a friend in the box office that refunds were pouring in. Kevin's directing career in Denver? Over. Rachel's reputation? Shattered. But I wasn't satisfied with just public fallout. There was a more personal consequence I wanted to ensure, something that would leave a mark long after the gossip faded. A week prior to opening night, Rachel had signed a contract with a talent agency in Boulder, her next step toward bigger roles. She hadn't told me, of course, but her emails revealed it clearly. Kevin says with this agency behind me, I can finally leave Denver behind. That agency prided itself on representing actors with integrity and professionalism. So I sent a polite, Anonymous package to their acquisitions director. Included. The video. A transcript of the audio clips. Links to the circulating footage online. No commentary. Just facts. 3 days later, I got word through a mutual contact. Rachel's contract offer had been rescinded. The agency didn't want its brand tied to her scandal. Meanwhile, I focused on cleaning house, literally and figuratively. I filed for divorce the morning after the show. Grounds: adultery, with substantial evidence. My lawyer nearly laughed reading the file. Mark, this is airtight. She'll be lucky to walk away with anything. I didn't want revenge in court. I wanted finality. I also changed the locks, boxed up her things, left them at a storage unit with a single note. Collect by Friday. After that, I'll dispose of them. No anger. Just closure. The texts kept coming. Less frantic now. More hollow. You ruined me. Please, at least talk to me. Everyone's turning their back on me. I read them with a detached curiosity. Because here's the truth Rachel never grasped. I wasn't trying to destroy her. I was simply making sure she couldn't continue destroying me. Word around the theater community spread fast. Kevin had quietly left town, returning to LA with his tail between his legs. Rachel was scrambling. Her friends were divided, some supportive, some furious at the way she dragged the entire production down.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing experience, but we really need your support, namely a subscription to the channel, which can make it possible to hire a professional voice actor and make the best content for you.
The next week, the remainder of Macbeth's run was officially canceled. No refunds for weeks of ticket sales. No closing night party. A production that had been her career breakthrough became a cautionary tale instead. I kept my head down, went to work, took extra shifts, rebuilt my life in small, deliberate ways. It felt good, the steady rhythm of honest work. No games, no masks. Then one night, a letter arrived, handwritten, from Rachel. I debated tossing it, but curiosity won. Inside, a single page. Mark, I have no right to ask for forgiveness. I only hope one day you'll believe I didn't mean to hurt you this way. I let ambition and selfishness blind me. I'm so sorry. I folded the letter once, filed it away in a drawer. Not because it mattered, but because one day I might want the reminder of how far I'd come and how far she'd fallen. But my revenge wasn't complete yet. There was one final thread I wanted to cut, one more symbolic gesture. For me, not for the world. And when that was done, I'd finally be free. End of part 3. Shall I continue with part 4? Go on with 4,000 characters part. ChatGPT. Here is part 4, approximate 4,000 characters, where the revenge gains its final sharp edge, and Mark prepares for full closure. Part 4, the last thread. Weeks passed. Rachel faded from the public eye. The video had done its work. The theater world in Denver was small. Her name was now a cautionary tale whispered backstage. Kevin was gone. Her agency deal was dead. Our marriage was legally dissolving. By all accounts, I'd won. But one thread still tugged at me. The lie she told to her inner circle. Because even after all this, I heard through mutual friends that Rachel was spinning it, blaming Kevin, blaming the pressure, even claiming I had hacked her life to ruin her out of spite. The same people who had once toasted us at cast parties were now caught in the middle. Some defended me. Some pitted her. But I couldn't stand the thought of that final narrative lingering. I didn't want revenge through malice. I wanted the truth to own the room completely and without question. Alex had kept a clean archive of the original video package, but I had one more weapon he hadn't used yet. A full audio recording from a late-night call between Rachel and Kevin captured weeks before the show. In it, they laughed about their affair. But more damning was this line from Rachel. If it blows up, I'll cry victim. Mark will look like the jealous husband. No one will question it. That line had burned itself into my mind the first time I heard it. And now, it was time to let it burn into others. I crafted one more short video. Opening with that audio clip, clear, undeniable. Then a quick recap of the key emails. Ending with the message. Truth is not jealousy. It is justice. I sent it selectively, not to the public. Just to the inner circle Rachel was still trying to sway. A few cast members. The board members of the theater. Several mutual friends who mattered to me. No commentary. Just the facts. The effect was immediate. Texts started coming in from mutuals. Mark, just saw it. I'm so sorry I doubted you. She's done. No one believes her anymore. You handled this with more class than most would. Rachel, I heard, was devastated. Her circle had finally crumbled. No more victim card. No more spin. Just silence. The divorce finalized 2 weeks later. I kept the house. Kept my savings. No alimony awarded, thanks to clear fault-based grounds. My lawyer even commented, "This is one of the cleanest wins I've seen. You played this exactly right." It wasn't about winning. It was about not letting a liar write the final chapter of my life. One rainy night, I stood in my now quiet living room. No more stage smiles. No more late-night rehearsals. Just my own breath and the sound of the rain. I poured a drink, sat by the window, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt peace. Not the smug kind. The steady kind that comes from knowing you didn't sink to their level. That you stood tall when others tried to pull you under. Rachel tried once more, one last letter. Delivered by courier. Inside. "I've lost everything. I know it's my fault. You deserved better. I hope one day you'll heal." I folded it. Placed it in a drawer with the first one. I was already healing. Not because of her words, but because of my actions. There was one final step I wanted to take, not revenge. Closure. A symbolic gesture to mark the true end. And soon, I'd take it. One last match to strike. Then I'd walk forward into a life where her shadow no longer touched the edges. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you take. That was the lesson I learned through months of watching Rachel's lies unravel. The world had seen the truth. Our marriage was over, legally, emotionally, completely. But there was still one piece of her that lingered in my space, the theater. The place where the lie had bloomed. Where Kevin's words had been whispered behind curtains. Where Rachel had first started rehearsing her new life without me. I worked there. Still loved the craft. But the space had become tainted. And that wasn't acceptable. So I planned one more act, this time, just for me. The Paramount was hosting its annual crew and cast gala, a private evening for staff and performers, no public, no press. It was a tradition I normally loved. Good food. Music. Recognition for the unseen hands that made shows happen. This year, though, the shadow of Macbeth still hung in the air. Rachel wasn't invited, officially persona non grata according to the board. But the memory of what had happened was still raw among the theater family. I requested a small slot to speak at the gala. Not a speech, just a moment to thank the crew. They gave it to me. "You deserve it after everything," Alex said. The night arrived. I dressed simply, dark suit, no tie. Kept my words ready, clean and sharp. When my moment came, I took the small stage. Looked out at the crowd, faces I knew well. Many had been caught in the storm. Some had doubted me. Some had supported me. Now they all listened. I spoke quietly, but clearly. This pastor taught me a brutal lesson. Even the brightest spotlight can hide the darkest truths. A ripple of knowing murmurs. Lies thrive in shadows. But when the curtain lifts, they burn fast. I let that settle. To those who stood by truth, thank you. To those who wavered, may you remember this. Loyalty isn't blind. It's earned. I paused. And for me, this is the last night I speak of it. From here forward, my stage holds no room for ghosts. Applause rose, some loud, some hesitant. But I knew then, I had taken the room back. Not with spite. With dignity. Later, I slipped backstage alone. In my pocket was a small envelope. Inside, the last printed copy of Rachel's most damning email. I walked to the props room. Found the old prop fireplace used in Macbeth. Lit a match. Watched the paper curl, blacken, and drift to ash. One last ember. One last piece of her burned from my world. That night, I slept deeper than I had in months. Not because the past was gone, it never fully leaves, but because I had chosen the ending. My way. My terms. Weeks passed. The theater returned to life. New shows loaded in. I worked the grids, tuned the lights, built new sets. And for the first time in a long while, I did it without weight on my shoulders. Rachel faded entirely from the scene. No shows. No new gigs. Whispers said she was trying to start over in another state. I wished her no harm, but I wished her memory to remain sharp, a lesson etched deep. As for me, I began writing again, something I hadn't touched in years. Not about her. About truth. Resilience. The quiet strength of standing tall when lies try to drag you under. One night, Alex and I sat at a bar. He raised his glass. "To you, man. You played it better than any scene they ever rehearsed." I clinked glasses with him. Because life isn't a script. It's how you walk off stage that counts. And I was ready to walk fully forward. With no mask. No regret. No shadow left clinging to my name. But there was one final thing I still needed to say to myself, more than anyone. And soon, I would. Because every story deserves one last line. It's been a year since the night I lifted the curtain. Since the truth spilled out under the lights where she once shined so easily. Since Rachel watched her world collapse, not from my rage, but from her own words, played for all to hear. And me? I'm still here. Standing. Whole. Free. In the months that followed, life kept moving. The theater brought in new productions, comedies, musicals, light after the dark. I stayed. Because this place, this craft, they were never hers to taint. I worked the ropes and lights with new steadiness. My crew? They treated me with quiet respect now. No pity. No whispers. Just a man who'd faced a storm and kept walking. Rachel never returned to Denver. Last I heard, she'd moved to Seattle, trying to find work again. But the internet never forgets. Her name still brought up the video. Her talent couldn't erase that stain. And that wasn't my doing anymore. That was her truth, stamped in the public record. One afternoon, Alex and I had lunch by the river. He asked, casually, if you could do it over, would you? I didn't even pause. Every second of it. He nodded. Dignity. You handled it better than most would have. I smiled. That was always the point. Not to ruin her, to make sure she couldn't ruin me. Because in the end, revenge isn't about dragging someone down to your pain. It's about rising so far above them that they can't reach you anymore, no matter how loud they scream. I rebuilt my personal life, too. Started running again. Took a trip to Arizona, something I'd put off for years. Learned to cook better than just eggs and toast. And one evening, at a small bookstore event, I met Emma, a writer. Quiet, funny, sharp-eyed, and fully uninterested in stage theatrics. We started slowly. She knew about the past, the story had circulated far enough. But she never asked for the details. She cared more about the man standing in front of her, not the one who'd been burned behind the curtain. One night, walking along Larimer Street, she asked, do you think it's possible to fully forgive something like that? I thought for a long moment, then answered, forgiveness isn't the point. Freedom is. And I've already got that. She squeezed my hand. That was all. No need to say more. In my living room now hangs one framed line, the only souvenir of the storm. Truth is not jealousy. It is justice. A simple reminder of the road I walked, and the way I chose to walk it. Sometimes people still ask if I miss her. The honest answer? I miss the version of her I thought existed. The woman who smiled backstage and whispered that I was her rock. But that was a role, well played, but false. And when the act ended, the mask came off. I don't mourn what was behind it. I'm too busy living forward. Now, when I stand backstage and watch a show unfold, I smile for a different reason. Because I know this. The stage can only hide so much. And when the truth finally steps into the light, it steals every scene. And as for me, I'm no actor. I'm no director. I'm just a man who learned the hardest way that loyalty is earned, not performed. And I walk every day now with one priceless gift. A life no longer haunted by someone else's lies. A peace no spotlight can fake. A future fully my own.
What do you think of the story? Write in the comments.